Hey friends, welcome back to the Homestead. Sorry it took me so long to edit and get this video out, but this is week 1 of the Pantry challenge that you're going to see here. All the dinners that we made. Most of the recipes are pretty simple. I keep things pretty simple, but everything was 100% from our pantry, what stock we had, and it was delicious. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I saw a recipe from Azure Homestead. I follow her channel. She's great. If you haven't followed her yet, you should. Totally not partnered with her or anything, but I watch a lot of her videos and she has great homestead and cooking content. Anyways, I saw a recipe that she's done a couple times. I think she calls it like smashed chicken or something like that. And I've got a couple hours before dinner that I can marinate the chicken. I think normally you do this overnight or whatever, but I didn't, so we're just gonna try it this way. And I think normally you're supposed to do this with chicken breast, but we have already used all of our cut up chicken breasts from our meat chickens this year, but I have lots of chicken wings and chicken legs and thighs, so I'm gonna do some legs and thighs. I guess you call them quarters. So let's get this marinating for dinner tonight. Okay, so in my little dish there, I'm gonna put my chicken. I'm picking off some random feathers that were left on. That sometimes just happens when you have homegrown chicken. So I'm laying them in the pan there, and I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice and Worcestershire sauce, and then salt and pepper. Of course, I have a little bit of paprika. There's some Italian seasoning, just my home blended Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and I'm going to put some garlic and brown sugar as well, and then just shake it up so it all is covered and set it in the fridge to marinate for a while. So to go with the marinated smash chicken, I'm just going to roast up some potatoes. It's such an easy and filling and delicious side to have. So I'm just chopping up a bunch of potatoes. I'm going to put some seasoning and some oil on there, salt, pepper, paprika, all that good stuff, and roast them in the oven. As you can see, as usual, I have my little kitchen helpers, and they most of the time are good help. I decided to add some leftover diced onion that I had to these potatoes just because they'll roast up nicely and my kids will eat them and it'll be just fine. Also, if you're wondering, paprika sometimes can be spicy, but I just do a little bit and it doesn't bother us at all. It doesn't bother my kids or any of us, but it gives it a really nice color when you roast them. So now I'm preheating my pan to cook the chicken in, and then I'm also setting a pot to steam some veggies in. I just do the frozen mixed vegetables and steam them up, and it's just perfect every time. You could put some butter on when you're ready to serve. Other than that, though, it is great. Decided to add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pan to kind of get some of the burnt on stuff here off, and that helped quite a bit. And then it also kind of steamed the chicken and helped it cook more thoroughly. If you're not used to cooking chicken on the bone, it takes longer, so having it kind of low and slow is the best way to go. Now I'm stirring my potatoes so they don't get too crispy on the bottom, kind of redisperse them, and it makes it really delicious. Now we're ready to serve dinner. Everything's ready. We just cut off the thigh and the drumstick portion and give everybody a piece, some veggies and potatoes, and that is a dinner well served. All right, another day, another dinner. On this night, we made a whole chicken with mashed potatoes and all the roasted veggies. One of my favorite ways to do mashed potatoes these days is in the Instant Pot, because I just set it and forget it, and it's really easy and consistent every time. After you put all your potatoes in the pot, you add at least 1 cup of water, and then you just set it on the steam function for 12 to 14 minutes, depending on how many potatoes. And now I'm getting out my chicken that has been defrosting in the fridge for a few days. And I'm going to prep that and all the veggies to roast. As you can see here, I'm putting some scraps into a bowl. I feed these to my chickens, and that just helps cut down on food waste because I'm turning all the food scraps into eggs. You could save things like carrot tops and that sort of stuff for broth, but this day I'm just doing it for the chickens. So if you've never roasted a chicken before, or any kind of bird, and you're a little bit nervous, I assure you that it is a lot easier than you think it is. I like to roast my birds on about 400 degrees in my oven, and you just go like that, nice and slow, until it is perfect and juicy. You want to temperature check it to make sure it's fully cooked through. and I like to check mine kind of in the hip joint is where I feel like I get the most consistent temperature. If you temp check in only the breast, then it might be cooked in one place but not in another, and you let a lot of juice out of the breast, and then it's not as juicy. But just 400 for an hour or so, depending on your chicken. Check it and it'll be delicious. You can season it however fancy you want, depending on what's in your cupboard and what you like. This day I just did some rosemary, salt, pepper, and a little bit of paprika. You can choose a fat of your choice. I'm doing lard because I have some lard from our pigs that we raised in butchers this last summer. I like to go a little bit underneath the skin. I like to put lard or the fat of choice, whether it's butter, olive oil, coconut oil, whatever. Put a little bit under the skin and then on top of the skin, and then you put your seasonings on and you just rub it in, massage the chicken, and it is going to be so, so good. One tip I do have is that if you find that your chicken is browning quicker than you want it to and you still need it to cook longer, just put some tin foil over the top. That way it doesn't burn on top, but it still continues to cook the meat inside. When your potatoes are done in the Instapot, you want to make sure to release the pressure, and then you want to strain the potatoes. I, one time doing this, forgot to strain the potatoes and just mashed them in the water that they were in, and it made potato soup, which was not great for the Thanksgiving dinner that we were having these mashed potatoes. So drain the water from the potatoes, and then I'm putting some butter in the pot. A lot of butter, and refilling my butter dish here. I love my butter dish. We go through so much butter, it's not even funny. So it's nice to have a nice big dish, and then you just pour the hot potatoes over the butter and you mash it in. You don't even necessarily need a potato masher. You can see me searching for my potato masher, not finding it, and just going for a spoon. The Instapot cooks the potatoes so perfectly that you really don't need a potato masher. I'm seasoning with salt, pepper. I have a little bit of cheese, so I'm putting some cheese in there, and I'm going to do some sour cream too. I really like a slightly tangy mashed potato, almost like baked potatoes when you put sour cream on top. We really like that, so if I have sour cream on hand, I put a little bit in the mashed potatoes, and it is delightful. We are also going to have a side salad with our dinner, with our roast chicken and mashed potatoes and roast vegetables. This is just a really great way to get in more greens. So I just chopped up a head of romaine and I'm gonna put all the fixins on it, let everybody choose their own dressing, and we're all just gonna be a big happy family eating our salad. So like I said, you want to temp check your chicken, make sure that it's fully cooked. I also added a little bit of butter on the roasted veggies here at this point, just to kind of help them be nice and moist and delicious and all of that. Now I'm just cutting up and serving up all the plates and cutting up the chicken. Cutting up a chicken seems really intimidating, but again, I promise you it's not nearly as intimidating as you think it is. I've gotten a lot better since learning how to butcher my own chickens because you get good practice at it. It helps a lot when you're like cutting off the legs and things like that to know where the joints are and cut in the joint. That way you're not trying to cut through bone. And this was one of our huge Cornish cross chickens, so the breasts were huge. So I cut the breast in half. My kids got half of each half, so a quarter of a breast, and then my husband got 1/2 of a breast, and it was plenty, and I still had lots of leftovers. And yes, the skin is so delicious that I just eat it straight because it's fantastic, especially when you roast it like this with a little bit of lard and all the seasonings. I just can't resist. And dinner is served: roast veggies, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and salad. And not wanting anything to go to waste, I strip the meat from the carcass and save that for another day. And I put the chicken bones in the Instant Pot with the veggie scraps and fill it with water, do a splash of apple cider vinegar, salt, pepper, whatever seasonings I want, and then I make bone broth. Now it's the next day and I am straining my bone broth. It's super simple. You just get a big bowl and a strainer, and don't mind the fancy camera work thanks to my toddler. And you strain out the broth and get rid of the bones. I know some people like to make bone meal out of it. I have no idea how to do that, so I just throw the bones out at this time. Maybe someday I'll learn how to do bone meal, but not today. And what I'm going to do with this bone broth that I made is I'm going to can it. So it is my canning project for the week, and we are getting her done. And since I only had 3 jars of broth, I decided to can some water to make sure that my canner's full when I'm running it. I just wanted to do that to make sure that none of the jars inside had the opportunity to fall down and crack or anything like that. So I put some water in jars and just set the canner to go. You can see I'm refilling my brown rice here from my huge Gamma lid 5-gallon buckets and getting out some ingredients to make stir fry. After rinsing my rice, I go ahead and put it in the Instapot, give it the correct amount of water, and cook it in the Instant Pot. It's another super, super easy way to do it. It's my favorite unless I have the wood stove, my wood cook stove going, then I will cook rice on the wood cook stove, but today I'm doing it on the Instant Pot. Now I have my beef defrosted, getting some soy sauce, have some veggies, and we're just gonna make a quick stir fry. Super, super simple, easy, and fairly healthy. I am adding a little bit of sesame oil here just for flavor. It's really great in stir fry, and some ginger and sesame seeds and soy sauce, and I've got some honey here for a little bit of sweet. That really helps with kids. Not too sweet, but just enough to make it not totally, I guess umami is the name for just soy sauce. Meanwhile, I have my canner going. The steam is venting for the allotted time. I put my weight on there, and there we go. And now I'm stirring my stir fry, cooking all the vegetables. They're frozen vegetables, which are just really, really great in this case. And when it's all done and ready to go, we just serve it over rice and call it a day. Alright, so this night we are doing a burrito night, and I'm gonna have some black beans. You can see my giant bucket there that we get our bulk storage of beans in. I did not have them pre-cooked, and I didn't have pre-done canned jars. That's one of my goals for one of these other weeks, to can my own beans, but I just have dry beans today. So the best way to do dry beans is in the Instant Pot. As you can tell, I love my Instant Pot. So you just put it in with the water and season it if you want to, or you can season it afterwards. It really doesn't matter. And then you just pressure cook it, and it's great. I'm just going to make some Spanish style rice. Yes, I know this is not actual authentic Spanish rice, but we are just going to make it work with what we have. We've got the rice in the pot. I do prefer to do my rice in the Instant Pot, but I've got my beans going in it right now, so we're just gonna do it on the stovetop. I added a little bit of tomato paste because I don't have diced tomatoes, and a little bit of chicken bouillon paste. It's really, really great. I'm gonna add some cumin in there, and this is just a hair of Italian seasoning because a lot of taco seasonings have Italian seasoning in them as well. And I'm preheating my big, huge, giant cast iron right there because we're going to cook our tortillas. If you saw my pantry tour and freezer tour video, you saw me talk about these tortillas that are uncooked tortillas that I got from Costco, and oh boy, do I love these tortillas. They just cook up real quick, and it's great in the cast iron, and you have fresh tortillas without all of the nasty ingredients because there's only like 3 ingredients in these tortillas, which is just as good as if you were going to make them at home from scratch, but I don't have to sit there with a rolling pin for forever. So we're cooking tortillas. Okay, now we're going to brown our ground beef to go with our burritos. Our tortillas are cooked. Didn't take too long. Our rice is going nice and strong. We're just gonna brown this meat, season it up, and throw it all together for burritos. Now I'm just setting up our toppings board for our burritos. We love lots of good toppings. I have some diced up onion, diced up bell pepper. I have some lettuce from our leftover salad from the night before when we had a salad. I have some cowboy candy. That's that green jar of deliciousness right there. We also have some sour cream, and my husband likes the Tapatio hot sauce, so we've got that too. That'll be with our beans and rice and ground beef. I just threw some taco seasoning in with the ground beef, chopping it all up nice and small so we don't have any too huge chunks in our burritos. I like my ground beef nice and small chopped. That's how I like it the best. For the fun part, assembling burritos. I just, with a slotted spoon, do the beans, some rice, some meat, and whatever toppings we like. Make it your own, make it delicious. And another thing that is great about burrito night is that all the leftovers are so versatile. You can turn them into anything: quesadillas, nachos, whatever you want. Yum yum. Okay, here we are. We are making an chicken Alfredo bake. I've got some of that leftover chicken from the roast chicken I had. I'm gonna pull it off of the bone. I'm gonna pull the skin off as well here too. Chop it up nice, throw it in my casserole dish, and add all the other goodies. I am making a second casserole dish of this because one of them is going to go straight into the freezer. I pour my uncooked noodles in there. They're gonna cook in the oven and it'll be totally fine. No need to pre-cook them. It works just fine. I put my chicken on top, and then we're going to put some onion. I put onion in everything, as you can see. It's just so delicious and so easy. So we put onion in all the things. I'm gonna dice it up, throw it in, put some seasonings in, and then make the sauce. Making this sauce is so simple. I was amazed the first time that I made this kind of sauce because I thought it was going to be so much more complicated, and it truly is not. So I have my pan preheating. I've got my butter dish out. I'm doing some garlic because garlic goes in everything, of course. And all you do is you start with a roux, and that sounds super fancy. I assure you it is not. You melt your butter and you put in some flour until it thickens, and then you add whatever liquid you are using, whether that's broth or milk or whatever, and it will give you a beautifully thick sauce that can be the base for any amazing sauce. It's the base for mac and cheese. It's the base for Alfredo sauce like this. I use a similar principle when I thicken up soups and stews. I use this to make homemade like cream of chicken or cream of mushroom or cream of whatever soup. It's just butter and flour and seasonings and whatever liquid, and it makes this just beautifully thick sauce. I'm putting some frozen vegetables on top of the pasta and chicken, and the sauce will go on top of that, and we'll call it a delicious meal. I have my big old block of Parmesan cheese from Costco. I'm gonna grate some of that in the Alfredo sauce because it's Alfredo sauce. After my sauce is done, I just pour it on top of the noodles and chicken and vegetables. I did decide to add some chicken broth to this just because I didn't pre-cook my noodles. I wanted to make sure there was enough moisture, enough liquid for the noodles to cook. So I just split a quart jar between the two and threw one in the oven and threw the other in the freezer. Here it is all finished. No, it is not the most beautiful meal ever, but it was delicious. Okay, so we're going to make a really simple dinner. This will be the first time that we're trying out this recipe since I've canned it, but I'm looking forward to it. Pretty sure I got this canning recipe off of the Ball website.
Here's the Mighty Mouse.
Pretty sure. But anyway, so what we're gonna do Sloppy Joes. I made Sloppy Joe mix a couple months ago and pressure canned it. It's been sitting on the shelf. I didn't have any meat defrosted or anything like that, so we're doing Sloppy Joes for dinner. All I'm gonna have to do is heat this up and prep whatever's going with it. I have some sourdough English muffins that I made last week, so we're gonna put the Sloppy Joe mix on those instead of making buns, and we're gonna have a side salad with it, and you'll see my helpers along the way. So let's go. This is the part of having pre-cooked, pre-done, canned full meals in jars on the shelf. Comes in really nicely because I didn't have to defrost the meat, I didn't have to brown the meat, I didn't have to make the sauce. I literally just open the jar and pour it into the pan, and because I made it from home, I know exactly what's in it, and I don't have to worry about any weird ingredients or preservatives or too much sugar or anything like that because I made it, and it's the perfect heat and serve situation. You can see that I'm tasting it a little bit here, and I did decide to add just a little bit of brown sugar to kind of give it more of a sweeter Sloppy Joe flavor. I prefer more of like a sweet tart Sloppy Joe flavor. That's just what I like. So just a hair of brown sugar made it perfect, and I've got my special helper there, of course. So we had the sloppy Joe mix, the canned sloppy Joe mix, homemade everything. I will say it was our first time trying it since I had canned it. We hadn't tried it before. Normally I make sloppy joes from scratch, but I have a pressure canner now and I've been working on pressure canning more ready-made meals. Sloppy joes was one of those meals that I wanted to try. I do like it. I will say I don't love it, but it's not because of the flavor or anything. It's more just the texture. If you haven't done canned meat before, ground beef is one of those things, or like ground meat is one of those things that people either love canned ground meat or they hate it. I wouldn't say we hate it, but it's just not our favorite. The texture is just different than a fresh ground beef. It's not quite as firm as a fresh ground beef. It gets a little bit more crumbly. Some people go as extreme as likening it to dog food. I don't think that, but it gets a little more crumbly than I would like. So I think this year or next time that I do a sloppy joe type mix, I'll probably do the sauce and can the sauce, but not the full meat in the sauce thing. But it tasted good. As you saw, I added a little bit more brown sugar to it because I'm used to more of a sweet and tart sloppy joe mix, but it was easy to add that afterwards, and you just heat it up and let the sauce thicken, and that's all. Kids ate what kids are gonna eat, and they did a good job, and yeah. Okay, so another night of dinner out of the pantry. We're gonna make shepherd's pie, and we're actually gonna make two because we're gonna eat one tonight, and then we're gonna give one away to a friend in need later this week. So, double the shepherd's pie. Let's get started. The first thing I need to do is make my mashed potatoes, and my favorite way to do that is in the Instant Pot because I don't have to think about it. So, here we go. Mashed potatoes are going in the Instant Pot. I am going to work on the meat and vegetable portion of the shepherd's pie. It's really simple, and if you take just a few extra steps that I'm going to show you, you will get a better flavor, a more depth of flavor. I know some people don't like to drink wine, and that's fine. But if you cook with wine, especially in something like this where you're cooking out all the alcohol content, you're just getting the flavor, added depth of flavor by cooking with wine, it is so worth it. So I'm just dicing up my onions, and then I'm going to brown up my meat and start making my sauce. you'll want to save the scraps from your onion skins and your celery tops and carrot tops and all of those sorts of things, either for making broth, or I like feeding them to my chickens too. So that's why I have the bowl there that I put all the scraps into, and my chickens love them. Cooking, you're probably going to see me liberally season with salt and pepper multiple times. I learned this trick from just watching cooking shows. They usually don't season with like salt and pepper just once at the end. They do it throughout, and you taste test throughout. That has been a great practice of mine to just get the best flavor when I'm cooking. So now that my onions and celery have cooked down and sauteed nicely, you can see I've got my array of ingredients there. I am going to start by making a roux, which is just fat and flour. I have butter and flour. You're gonna see me smelling the butter here. It's because I got a different kind of butter and it smelled different. It wasn't bad, it was just different. I'm used to a very neutral smelling butter, and this one kind of had a cheesy scent to it that just kind of threw me off. So don't be weirded out when you see me smelling the butter. Browning the meat. This is some of that meat that we got from that cow that we had butchered. Somebody else raised it. We just had it butchered and had it for ourselves, and it is delicious beef. If you haven't checked out my stocking up on a whole cow, whole beef video, I will make sure to link it below, because that entire cow major stocked up our freezer, and we still have a lot of beef from that. Okay, so now I'm scooping all of the meat and onion and celery out of the pan. This is so that I can make the sauce and the roux. I will be adding all of it back to the pan, but it was just easier to get it out of the pan so I could properly do the roux without it getting all gloopy and gunky. I'm gonna add my butter here. That is the fat source for the roux. If you've never made a roux before, it's so easy, and it is how you thicken a sauce, whether that's sauce for like macaroni and cheese sauce or an Alfredo sauce, or even like a non-cheesy sauce like this with the shepherd's pie and the tomato-based sauce. You need it thickened, and doing a roux is a perfect way of doing that. So you melt your butter, And then you add your flour, and you're going to stir that in until the flour is cooked and all incorporated in the butter. You're going to see that it gets all thick and buttery, and I'm scraping the sides of my pan with a whisk there and kind of cooking it down so that it doesn't have a raw flour taste. Some people say you need to cook it for a certain amount of time. I don't really do that. I just do it for a couple of minutes. And then I'm adding my wine. So you can see there it was only about 1 cup of wine. So that'd be the equivalent of half a cup per shepherd's pie, and it all cooks down. I added my chicken broth, and then I have this bouillon paste that is just a vegetable bouillon paste, and it just adds extra flavor. I really like it. Adding some tomato paste and then stirring it up, making sure it's all incorporated. I'm gonna add my second jar of tomato paste there and mix that in, and that is the sauce for shepherd's pie. Oh, and I add Worcestershire sauce too. We are big fans of Worcestershire sauce, and I have to keep that in stock because my husband loves Worcestershire sauce, and if I ever have a beef dish other than steak and I forget the Worcestershire sauce, he makes sure to tell me. So don't be shy about the Worcestershire. It just adds great flavor. I added some Italian seasoning and the last of my garlic powder into this. I'm going to be stocking up on garlic powder after this challenge because we just go through a ton of garlic powder. We love, love, love garlic. Now I'm incorporating that meat and vegetable kind of mixture into the sauce and then adding the vegetables. This is just a simple like green bean, corn, and pea mix that I got from the store, just a petite medley mix, which is perfect for shepherd's pie, also perfect for pot pie, but I did not use that for pot pie today. Mixing it all in, then I'm going to divide up the meat into the 2 casserole dishes I have, one for us, one for the other family we're making this for. And then we're going to do the mashed potatoes on top. Of course, you got a taste test, and I've got my expert taste tester next to me, of course. More Worcestershire, surprise, surprise, salt, pepper, all that good stuff. dividing up the meat and vegetable and sauce situation deliciousness into the casserole dishes, and then we're just gonna put the mashed potatoes on top and bake it until it's warm and crispy on top and just absolutely wonderful. This is just, it's such a simple meal and such a humble meal. I think maybe people growing up with it kind of have a not so fond memories of it, but we really like these kinds of meals that are just simple and full of flavor and delicious and make great leftovers as well, by the way. To show you here how I clean my cast iron pans after I have a big goopy mess in them like this. I heat my pan up and I add some water and I let it simmer until it starts getting nice and bubbly and all of that, and then you just scrape the insides of the pans and rinse them out. And after you rinse them out, then you need to make sure to dry them properly. So I add them back to the stove and make sure they're thoroughly dry, and then you oil them. And that's how you thoroughly wash your cast iron pans without soap, without major scrubbing or anything like that. And I keep a perfect season on my cast iron pans by cleaning them this way. By the way, this pan might seem ginormous, and it is. My husband got me this as a Christmas gift, a 15-inch cast iron pan, and I love this thing. Love it, love it, love it. And here I am greasing up the dish. Here is the shepherd's pot pie, nice and finished and bubbly, and boy, oh boy, was it amazing. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for the following week's video. We'll have 4 weeks worth of Pantry Challenge meals that we made, and they all were super fun, super delicious, and awesome. So if you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up, a like, and a subscribe for more content like this, motherhood, homesteading, and natural living content. So until next time, welcome to the homestead.